rules of evidence. Forget it now, confirmation letter is there, so this is proved. Sorry. Tell me first whether the loan is genuine. You may not even have a confirmation letter. But is the loan genuine is the first question. And the SSC knows whether it is genuine or not genuine. This is something which you, me, nobody knows, SSC knows. And therefore, full and true disclosure means that way. Forget the evidences. You have to really take a call on really what is full and true. So, that is there. Limitation 1, and next is once in a lifetime opportunity. You cannot come next time. This is an amendment in 2007. Earlier it was there. All. Then limitation, you can file it only before assessment is filed. I'll come to it when we discuss which cases technically application can be filed. Now let us look at filing of application, the process. The first thing, having decided okay, penalty prosecution is a possibility, you want to make an application. The first and foremost thing that you do is, which are the years that SSC is thinking of making an application. There, only those cases you can go to settlement commission where the proceedings are pending before the assessing officer. That is, once the assessing officer has passed an order on the assessment order, you cannot go in appeal. So what are those situations which can be there? One is a regular, you file the return, whether or not 143.2 notice received within a 2-year period. As long as time to make 143.3 is there, it is a pending irrespective of 143.2 notice being issued. Second, is there a 148 notice? Third possibility, is there a 153A or 153C notice? Then it is pending. And the last is there a set aside by commissioner under 263, 264 or a tribunal for making a de novo assessment? These are all situations where assessment is pending before AO and you can file an application for settlement. If they are not, SSC cannot file an application for settlement. So you have to file it before assessing officer passes the order. Now what are the conditions?
Is it passing the order or the order has to be served on this?
See, I'll put it this way. There is section 245F1. I'm not going to technicalize, I look at it in the procedure matter, where exclusive jurisdiction rests with the settlement commission the moment you file an application for settlement. The procedure is you file an application, the moment they give you acknowledgement on the same day, you have to file an intimation to assessing officer. The moment you give him an intimation, he loses jurisdiction. So I would say when you went to serve him the intimation if the assessment was already made, and that has happened 2 years back, a commissioner made that person wait for half an hour and literally order was drafted and served it on him. Don't let situation come to such a situation that you are now faced with possibility of going to High Court whether the proceedings are pending or not pending. You understand? See, you are trying to resolve, you are trying to see to it that you don't face the consequences. If you make it so near to the assessment order being passed, what is going to happen? They may admit it. Settlement Commission said no, we have jurisdiction as long as it is not served. Question is, department will go to High Court. Multiplicity of proceedings, what is the purpose served by it? So we always tell a client, you want to go to settlement, never look at the month of March. Look at the month of December, look at the month of November as the month in which you are going to take a call. Because it is going to take 2 months for you to make a full intro disclosure. It's not going to be easy. If the search party or your client has not made a full intro disclosure, it's not going to be easy for him to make a full intro disclosure before the start date. And we have cases where full intro disclosure not made subsequently suffered. So there's a very crucial 2-month gap. I would say client wakes up in the month of March, I'm going to file a settlement application, it's too late. You are fighting a battle where you will be looking at still a multiplicity of proceedings.
The FAQ on the site, on settlement commission sites, specifically says that served.
I agree with you, I'm not denying. But I'm trying to look at it this way. Ultimately, why are you going to settlement? 18 months, end of the matter, you don't want multiplicity of proceedings. You want to go to High Court, fight this issue which takes quite a few years, you go to Supreme Court. What have you gained? What I'm trying to impress upon you, that is correct. But always look at deciding settlement in the month of November or December. Don't look at in the month of March where you're going to fight these problems and you have multiplicity of proceedings. I'm trying to look at the practical side of it. Ultimately, why are you going to settlement? Because you want to get over these problems once and for all. 18 months, forget about it completely. And we have businessmen who are extremely happy with this state of affairs because they get out of the hole at this within 18 months. But if you have the writ petitions following you, what is the purpose? I'm just trying to tell you practically. Legally you are right. Practically I'm trying to tell you what the purpose it serves. So conditions, there is a prescribed form 34B which says nothing. If a person looks at that form, in fact, when I took up the first drafting in 93 or 94, it meant nothing to me. You know, my senior told me, draft a settlement application. I prepared it within 10 minutes. I said even form 36 takes more time. Because it says nothing, assessment years and so one page, half a page. Said this is not a settlement application. So form 34B really speaks nothing. It says what is required, but it really requires some exposure, some help to decipher the form itself. It's very silent on what are the core issues. It just says statement of facts, but what really it means, it takes some time to gather. So condition, application has to be in form 34B. The day you file form 34B, the same day you have to file intimation to AO in form 34DA. This is very crucial. Bombay bench has taken a view. If you don't file it on the same day, application is invalid. Your application is going to be rejected first day itself. So 34DA simultaneous to AO on the same day is very crucial. Many times we have situation where outstation client, bench is Bombay. Literally two people are waiting at different locations with mobiles on and immediately filing it. That sort of situations happen. The third condition is that additional tax payable on income offered in the settlement application. Method is similar to what we compute penalty. Method is given in the law 245D, 245C. How to compute this? One can compute this additional tax. It has to exceed 50 lakhs if it's a case of search, 153A, 153C. 10 lakhs if it is not search case. A search case where one case has gone, the other case is a related party. Then also again 10 lakhs possible. Definition is very the same. So I never do academic discussion. Case to case we can look at it. A is one SSC 50 lakhs, another SSC 10 lakhs. Whether they are related or not, definition is there, but very via media. So one can look at that and take that issue also. Tax along with interest has to be paid with that before filing the application. This is a very crucial thing, benefit to the department. That normally an SSC within 6-8 months or a year of a search files a settlement application and the whole of the tax is recorded by the department with interest. Now how do you compute interest? Interest is to be computed treating the settlement application as a return file. And therefore I advise clients that though 234C may not apply in many cases, but still when you are paying additional tax, pay 234ABC treating the application as a return file or what is your liability to 234ABC. Whole of that amount has to be paid. A default of even ₹1 makes the application invalid. So there is no authority which does a pre-verification of this tax calculation. You try it, AO will do it, but he will never give you writing. And therefore, as a practical thing, I am sharing a hint with you, pay 50,000 more per year. Because you will find there is an error in calculation of some interest somewhere. ₹1 shortfall and you are out of the settlement commission at whichever stage you are. It makes the application invalid if the taxes are not paid before filing the application. Very crucial. And therefore taking credits for cash seized, either get an order from the CIT for adjustment of that cash or don't take credit while filing your application. You will get all the credits when final order is passed. But when application is being filed, be very clear, match it with 26 AS, that every rupee that you are saying is paid is reflected in your 26 AS. Then only you take credit. Be little cautious on this front, otherwise you may face a difficulty or application will be invalid at a later stage.
So we may take the credit of the TDS that we have already paid and advance tax also we can take the credit?
Yes.
And then the SSC himself computes whatever the tax is paid to.
So effectively what happens, you compute your income including the income that you are offering to settlement commission, a computation of total income like an assessment order, assessing officer does it. Compute 234 ABC. Give credit for everything that is reflected in 26 years.
And if in case any refund is pending from the department in say any of the prior years, then can we adjust that?
The 7-year period, if there is a refund, then please ensure there is one case from Surat which suffered because of this, that they were not aware, the department had directly credited the refund in the bank account. The accountant never realized, so he just put it in miscellaneous receipts. And when the application was filed, there was a shortfall because there was a refund granted. So to that extent, it had gone down. Within the 7-year period, be very careful about the refunds you may have got. So you can get that adjustment within the 7-year period or 6-year period for which you are filing. But refund is of a year for which you are not in settlement and you want to claim credit, you need an order from the AO before taking this credit. Because it is not it is a prerogative of the SSC to apply, but it is prerogative of the assessing officer to grant refund or not, to grant adjustment or not. And therefore, if you want to claim any such adjustments, take an order from the AO. Many times they are cooperative enough to do all this. Because you are going to pay a big chunk of money, you will find assessing officers who are good to do this. But do this effort before filing application for certificate. Once you file, as I said, AO is divested of. Full and true disclosure, as I said, is the heart and soul. Now, what are the consequences of not making full and true disclosure? Let us understand this little bit here. Again, we'll go because this is something which needs to be, especially after Ajmera's case went to Supreme Court twice. It is now in Bombay High Court in the third round. This was a core issue which was dealt with by the Supreme Court, and they said that if an application is not having full and true disclosure, whichever state the application is, it can be rejected. It should be rejected, rather they said that. Bombay High Court recently, major metals, all those are there in the notes. I'm not giving citations. Major metals, SSC said, sir, he's added further sum, he should have rejected. They said, sorry, it is a prerogative of the settlement commission. So what consequence you can suffer is consequence A, what Supreme Court said. At the late stage, your application will be rejected, you are back to the department. Or B, settlement commission may add it and also levy penalty, again an order which you cannot appeal. So full and true disclosure, we talk of two stages. There is a third stage. In the return, you are not made a full and true disclosure, assessment made, not made. Department has 16 years for foreign accounts and 6 years for Indian concealed income to reopen. Settlement commission, even after 40 years, they find that there was not a full and true disclosure. Your application can be thrown out at that stage. It will be reopened, assessment will be made again. Your application, your D4 order will all be rendered invalid if the department comes up with something or the settlement commission comes up with something which shows that you have not made a full and true disclosure. So not making a full and true disclosure, you may get out an admission, you may get out a D4, you may suffer a penalty. You feel, oh, nobody has caught me, I already got the D4 order. Lifetime, if something comes up, and there are been not one, at least 5-6 instances I am aware of, where after D4 order is passed, after 3 years, some facts comes before settlement commission through the department, and the settlement commission has said order is ineffective. Everything goes back to the department. All your immunity is lost. So full and true disclosure is that important for an SSC. You may not be caught. Maybe taking a chance is a different thing, but the possibility is always there. Again, there is a Supreme Court decision in the note, Home Metals, where Supreme Court said yes, the D4 order is cancelled and everything goes back to the department. So not making full and true disclosure, there can be consequences at a very till the last stage.
So again in future you can go to settlement commission because it was a
Only once in a lifetime.
even if it is rejected. Even it is rejected.
In fact, even when we could make more than one application, there was a condition that an SSC who has not made a full and true disclosure cannot come again to settlement commission. So even those days where one could make more than one application, this disqualification was always there.
So even if the officer find out 1 rupee and he is right to the commission, settlement commission, everything goes.
1 rupee, I would say leave aside the amount out, but it shows something which was concealed. See what is.
My point is principle. I am not talking about the.
Understood, that's what I am saying. I am trying to just clarify what your question,
Yeah.
that it should not be a calculation thing. That okay, you should have estimated income at 15%, it was done by 10% and all this. No. But there was some fact which was crucial to determination of income. Say for example, certain loans. You had borrowed, went as genuine, nobody had questioned you throughout. And after D4 order, that is the Supreme Court judgment, 3 years down the line, the department comes to know that he was a name lender. And his D4 was cancelled. So issue is important, amount is not important. That's what I wanted. Issue based, if something is not disclosed. There have been instances where settlement done, some purchases are detected later date, which were bogus part of Hawala. They are facing music. Because at Hawala list is going on changing every day. Today we have 10, tomorrow becomes 15. So the SSC knows which are his bogus parties, he has to come up clean on that front. Sorry, you had a question.
Can it be also change of opinion like?
No, that's what I said. Issue based. There has to be concealment of fact. Issue based. Not change of opinion, not those 140. But what was originally, if you remember, 147A, that is where the SSC has concealed something. Those type of cases can be reopened anytime.
No, so when the department comes to know there is some material not made available during the proceeding, then the matter is referred back to settlement commission or the.
There are 3 or 4 conditions, situations that are faced. I'll leave with it now itself. A, your application getting rejected at first stage. The procedure is there. What is the procedure for settlement? You file an application. They will fix up the hearing and decide whether to admit or not within 14 days. This is the time limit for them to pass an order. So literally the third or the fourth day, they will give you hearing notice on the same day. The application is heard. If it is admitted at that stage, then any stage subsequent to that, an application rejected or going back, D4 not paid full and full, D4 rejected, subsequent to D4, which is your case goes back. All those situations, everything that is available with the settlement commission goes to the AO. He can use this against you. So the consequence of a case going back is whatever admissions you have made, whatever offers you have made, everything that you have made in the SL, but which is not fully true, you have left out something, you suffer the consequence before the AO of the whole facts. Everything goes back. Only the first stage, if you file an application at D1 it is not admitted, then it doesn't go to the department. Then department only knows the amounts of income that because the taxes are paid. But further than that, department doesn't have anything. They are confidential till that stage. Once D1 has taken place, first admission, anything happens after that, case is rejected, abates, goes back, everything goes back to the assessing officer, he gets the same time limit to make an assessment. It goes back to that very stage where it was there before.
So the SSC is always at mercy.
One way sheet.
No, my question is, if once the settlement commission passes the order, later on after 4 years, department comes to know that there is some fraud.
You will have to write to settlement commission. Settlement commission will have to pass a formal order saying why they say that full and true disclosure is not there, what are the evidences, and they will say this D4 order is cancelled, the law itself provides, and everything goes back to the assessing officer with all the papers and evidence. If cancelled after D4, there will be a speaking order on this.
Sir, while going to the settlement, as you rightly said, okay, I have to pay all the taxes along with the interest. For example, your order is passed, D4 as well, and after AO recomputes, you find out that there was some problem in the interest or some calculation error. Your order is already passed. For example, some 26 AS credit was reflected when you have filed an application, then it got rejected. By that means there was demand outstanding for some 2-3 years out of the 7 years. So whether a settlement gets void or what would be repercussions of that?
See, frankly telling you, certain things which are based of a valid application, like payment of taxes.
They have already paid.
That's what I'm saying. That goes to the root of the matter. Any stage that issue can be raised, an application can be raised. But when you look at facts, that your D1 has taken place, there is going to be a second admission where the department has to report whether he has paid the taxes. He has reported he has paid the taxes. Now if after D4 he comes up, no sir, 26 years there was some mistake, obviously it doesn't then mean that there is a shortfall in payment. What has happened now is that you are taking account of things. So that doesn't go to root, but you understand?
No, but after receiving an order in my case, once I was going through that, within 30 days they have to give notice of demand, whether calculations and all. So in that a demand arose. So whether my application would be.
That's what I'm saying. What is to be paid is what you offered in the application. Settlement commission may add something further, there is going to be a demand. Okay, so let us leave aside the question that there is going to be a demand after D4. Question is what you are asking is, at D4, they come up with a thing that at D1 itself you had short paid the taxes. Okay, now you have two things in your favor. 26 AS showed that time that you have paid. They have given a report in the interim stage, will come to the process, the second stage. They have to give a report, department has to give a report that whether SSC has paid the taxes. They will say yes, he has paid. Now 8 months down the line, he cannot say it was not paid that time. What will happen, it will not affect the validity of application. Maybe you will end up paying that if there is a genuine shortfall.
Sir,
Yeah.
if in case we have a 147 proceeding and the AO finds some income, thereafter we decide to go into settlement commission. So then the income that what AO has found out, whether that would be also regarded as suo motu disclosed income or that would not be.
I'll explain. We'll come to that. In fact, that is what is pending. I can see that page open before me. Just come to that. Just coming to that. The Supreme Court in Express newspapers case, it is a law before 1991 and therefore doesn't apply fully to the law after what we are facing today. But what was the issue there was that the SSC had in the return of income claimed losses from potato trading. And in his settlement application, he said, I am offering these losses as additional income. The Supreme Court said two things very clearly, and I will quantify what are those two things. One, they said for the purpose of settlement commission 245C, though generally for income tax act, income includes losses, But for 245C, income doesn't include losses. And therefore, you have to make an offer of a positive income. You cannot say, I'm withdrawing something, claim for losses or expenses and offering it. So that is one part of it. That is the core issue. The second part they mentioned about income known to the department was as per the law before 91, when the AO had a veto. The CIT could just write to the commission that, sir, I have detected concealment and the application is rejected. And therefore, in that context, they said no. The law stands after 2007, and I'll then give you the practical hint how we do it. What you really require is each year there has to be some positive income to be offered. But that is not the end of determination of total income. What you have to really do is start with your returned income and make all those additions, disallowances that you have to make, irrespective of express newspapers. You are going to reassess your income, self-reassessment, which will include obviously some income which was not known to the department, but also other adjustments. Suppose some depreciation has to be recasted. You have realized there is a mistake. 14A, you feel no, now disallowance has to be made, originally not made, but now. So various those things that you have to do, you all do all that. So your total income will be having all those self-reassessment things, disallowances, additions, plus some concealed income. Some income not known to the department. Condition of express newspapers, 50 lakhs, 10 lakhs, they were not talking of. They were only talking of there has to be some income which is offered not known to the department. So practically what we do, best of the case, we always make a total reassessment and then offer 10,000, 1 lakh depending on the size of the plan as some professional income earned relating to the business he carries out. Now we have service tax issues, problems relating to that occasionally, but you have no option but to do this. We have been doing this consistently. This is a trade secret. We offer some income every year not known to the department. You also didn't know. SSC also comes to know for the first time, but you offer it. Because you want to make the application valid. Express newspapers were only dealing with, only issue was you need to offer some income. They didn't say that this income should lead to 50 lakhs. So to that extent, you satisfy the condition by offering something extra. But you are going to make a total recomputation of your income. It's not going to be just some concealed income offered and file the computation. No. Whatever disallowances you have to make, whatever additions you have to make, leading out of the reassessment of your return will have to be carried out in this computation of income. And all that difference between total income so reassessed and the returned income is the additional income on which you are going to pay the tax and interest. So you are not going to cut corners that okay, this will leave it out. You are going to disallow and whatever is required to be made, and there has to be some concealed income. If you don't have it, add something on some ground and make it a complete application on that day.
So one goes like adding every year 25% of his income and make a 10-year chart.
Literally everything has to be considered. Attempt has to be, and we try to do that. Attempt has to be that you have computed income so well that the department doesn't need to, and settlement commission doesn't need to pass an order D4, any income above D4, above what you offered in the application. Because whatever is the difference, the question will come up whether you are liable to penalty. So even if you get immunity to the extent of what you offered, so that is also may at times don't get it if the difference is very high. But even after that, the difference you will have to justify for everything whether you are liable to penalty. And therefore an attempt has to be there in the application itself, make it full and true in all respects. So now the procedure we have, settlement commission, you file an application and as I said, you make somebody wait in the AO's office. The moment they give you acknowledgement, Form 34B has a cap that you have to give the acknowledgement number. You fill up that acknowledgement number, file it on the same day, Form 34B. You will get a notice for hearing. Hearing will be fixed up. Now, made it a practice, though really legislature never intended that D1 and D2C admission process should be heard formally, but it has become a practice that every case gets fixed up. So the case gets fixed up earlier, before 2007 law was two parts. They used to look at whether there is nature and circumstances of the case justify or complexity of investigation is required. So one was that part to make an application valid. That has gone out. The other part always was whether the SSC has been full and true disclosure, whether the application is valid. So we went through the conditions, Form 34BA filed or not, taxes paid or not, tax and interest, all those things, and then comes a core issue, full and true disclosure. That time department is not present, and therefore you have to demonstrate with your SOF that sir, this is how I have narrated my facts and this is how I worked out my income. the settlement commission is satisfied you have made a full and true disclosure, will admit the application. They will have to forward this application and the admission order within 30 days to department. Department has to give a report within 30 days. Normally this period is around 45 days from the date of filing application. Department's report will come to settlement commission. Invariably they take the stand that application is invalid, admission is wrong, please cancel the admission. And therefore again hearing is fixed up within 14 days. So literally on the date the report comes, you get a phone call, collect the report, you are told that comes the hearing from the third day or the fourth day. You have to give a reply to this report. And therefore your application becomes crucial because the report will have all the narrative what according to department is your income. Department is going to list out in this. Within 3 days you will have to come up with an answer to this report that how each and every one of the point of the department has been considered by you in your application. And that you have made a full and true disclosure because the second stage also it is full and true disclosure which will be examined. And therefore how detailed your application is and how full and true your application is will determine whether you will cross the second hurdle of T45D2C. If settlement commission prima facie satisfied, will say okay we are allowing the application to go further and they will forward your SOF and everything to the department. Nowadays in Bombay bench especially it has become a practice. They ask for D3. What is D3? 245D subsection 3. The department, in fact actually the section says the commission may, if it feels appropriate, instead of doing it itself, ask the assessing officer, ask the CID to do further investigation. But some very smart person who feels that no, the world needs to be changed, they change the procedure that they are right, there is a standard format letter to the department the moment D2C order is passed, that do you want D3? It's like in the world you ask somebody, do you want a cup of coffee? You're going to say, please, if you're serving me, thank you. So it has now become a practice, what was an occasional thing, that every case, department immediately sends the report, we want D3. So hearing is fixed up whether to give D3, it's an addition that has happened. They will say this things, AO will look at. It's an additional procedure, always there, but it is now getting implemented in every case. You will have to go to the AO. Let me assure you, this is something which a person who has made a full and true disclosure need not worry about D3. It's only a person who has still hidden something, that is where little problems are going to be there. The department will make its investigation. They get 3 months. They submit a report. Normally, even with D3, within 7th or the 8th month, the case gets fixed up for final hearing. Now, what is final hearing is very important. What is settlement? This is where I feel many times people fail. This is where the samjhota comes in. Always tell people that you have decided that okay, you want penalty prosecution immunity is required for you, you have decided to file an application. Then comes the second stage, identification of issues in a case. Your application to survive all these stages, suo motu identification of what are the problem areas, what are the areas of dispute between you and the department has to be there. This is something happens suo motu. You're not waiting for department to give you a specific notice, these are the problems, loans are not genuine, these 3 parties. Suo motu identification by the SSC of those problem areas. At this stage, drafting stage itself, when you identify what are the areas of dispute, we call it issues for settlement. What are the areas of dispute between the SSC and the department? You have identified, you are going to make a settlement of that in your application itself. That is issue number 1, genuineness of purchases. What do you have to say? If your stand is going to be that my purchases are genuine, please sir, don't go to settlement. Your stand is going to be, sir, purchases, yes, there is some problem, but then I have spent this money like this and only 2% is my income. Well, you are welcome in settlement, it will be argued, it will be settled. If any of these issues that you have identified suo motu between you and the department, it is not going to be a settlement on facts, but it is going to be a litigation, an argument and determination of the issue. Don't go to settlement commission if it is a factual issue. Legal issue, you can go. If it's a pure legal issue, no problem, settlement commission will decide for you. But a factual issue that you have identified as a dispute between you and the department that can arise, if the SSC is not going to offer this, if the SSC is not going to do something about it, coming up full facts relating to it, and is going to expect the settlement committee to say that the SSC is completely right on this, sorry, don't go. Because you are going to face problems when it comes to samjhota. What really they do samjhota? That is what is really the core of settlement commission. And we have had very good benches where we have